Hello and welcome everybody. You are listening again to another of everybody's favourite podcast on the internet, on a small backwards little site on the internet. You are listening to the MLS UK podcasts. You're listening to me, Danny B90. You're listening to that man over there, still in England, but right there, the big man, John Parker.
Hello.
And you're also listening to the crazy Scot living out there in America, trying desperately to let himself stay there, Andy V. Watson. How are you, Andy?
All right, not bad.
And you, John, how are you?
I'm good, mate. I'm very, very good. I'm chipper.
Just to check, John, are you wearing a suit now?
I'm actually I'm still wearing my coaching attire this evening.
Oh, those of you who don't understand this, we were having a quick discussion before we came on air about John, who, if you don't know, manages a little local team of his of is it under 12s?
It's under 12s. Kesgrave Kestrel's under 12s.
Under 12s. So if you are looking for an English club, you've just found it.
It's there. We do have a men's team as well. We have two men's teams, actually.
But John's not in one of those.
I kind of was invited to play for the reserves.
John's built for management, not performance.
That was it.
Management, not performance. But John goes and manages an under 12s game in a full suit. So I was just checking if he was still in his suit for this podcast.
If you picture Ian Holloway on a match day, but just imagine my tie's got a blue stripe instead of an orange one.
And
he was at Blackpool.
As you're not bald and a lot fatter.
Yeah, picture like Michael Moore wearing that attire.
Yeah.
You pretty much got it bang on.
Nailed it right on the head. But yeah, so how's things been since the last time we spoke, which was probably about 2 years ago?
Everything is shaping up, should we say? Everything is plodding along, but the MLS is of course the mainstay of all of our lives. I'm sure we'll all agree. And no, things are good, mate. Things are good, and I'm presuming they are both the same with yourself and with Andy.
Yeah, they're good. How about you, Andy? How's things been progressing since we last spoke?
Yeah, not bad. Been enjoying the playoffs, despite the lack of Chivas. So not bad. Looking forward to Saturday.
And Andy he just nonchalantly says, everything's fine. Like he hasn't got any sort of big news or anything.
Casually
hype up or anything,
Casually ignoring the biggest news that we've had.
Like no massive event has taken place in the last sort of month or so.
No massive events, Andy. No.
Cast my mind back a few weeks. Well, I might have convinced some silly Californian to get married to me. So.
Look at that! See, the crowd goes wild.
The crowd goes wild.
A slow clap.
Congratulations, my friend.
It was a clap that we tried to stay quiet enough for it to not interrupt your speech. It's really difficult to not do that quietly.
It was a polite sort of tennis clap.
Yeah, it's the Wimbledon clap. But yeah, no. So we are obviously live on air. I say live. We're going to pretend it's live on air. We would love to extend our congratulations to you and the beautiful Erin on behalf of MLS UK and obviously everyone everywhere in the world, because we can speak for them all, can't we, John?
Yeah, we can. We speak for everyone. We at least speak for 90% of America.
Yeah.
When we say congratulations, Andrew.
Oh, thanks very much.
But you also, before we get too bogged down in sentimentality, not that we like that normally, you also touched on a slight knife in the back of all three of us, which was the playoffs, and how there's no good standout teams in there, are there, guys? It seems to be missing that class of, a team that's got no fans, another team that's got no fans, and a team that plays in yellow. It's like it just.
Managers.
Yeah.
The Rebs don't play in yellow, Dan.
Oh, sorry, I must have got that wrong. I apologise. They must have been one of the other ones then. I can't think why. But yeah, so for guys, obviously, as we all know, the MLS season is unlike the Premier League season in the fact that it doesn't end on who's got the most points. It ends with a playoff, as everyone will know. How is it feeling for you guys? I know it sucks to be me, being a Columbus fan, and it's the first time since 2007 that we haven't made the playoffs. How's it feeling for you guys to not be in the playoffs and having to sit there and watch other teams go out there and perform and it not being your boys?
I'm kind of used to it now. Ever since I've been a Revs fan, we've never made the playoffs. So So I'm as miserable as it is, I don't really know what the playoffs are. Having never been in them really, while I've been a fan, I can't really talk about the playoffs. But it's nice because I had this pain with obviously the New England Patriots in the NFL playoffs last year, where when you're in it, you're kind of invested and you can't relax and enjoy it. Whereas now I can sit back, watch the MLS playoffs, not have to worry about my team going out because my team are not good enough to be in it. So that's quite enjoyable.
So you're basically saying the fact that Revs are not good enough means that you can relax.
Yeah, it's kind of obviously there's this trauma of the full season, isn't there? When you're losing, you're bottom of the table, etc., etc. There's this trauma of you just we lost again. We lost again. Yeah, we lost again. And kind of when you get to the end of the season, you watch all these people crying and I can't believe our season's over. And I'm like, ours was over 6 months ago. Get over it. And, so I can kind of watch and enjoy these moments of people being thrashed 3-1 and 4-0 and whatever in the playoffs and really enjoy those games. Whereas obviously for the fans of those losing teams, it's heartbreaking.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I'm not exactly a fan of not being there. I like the heartbreak. I like the passion. I like to have a game where I end up, even if I end up, like you say, crying and shouting at the TV or laptop, whichever I happen to be using at the time. I love that. That's the whole fun of football. I do that every single game. If we lose, I cry every single game, all the time.
It's kind of I'd say it's like having children. It's kind of like they're great, everything's fantastic, but when you do have those nights off, you think, this is heaven. So when you don't have to worry about how rubbish your team is playing and performing, it's kind of sometimes it's nice to be able to sit back and watch some football without being stressed to the eyeballs and throwing your pint glass at the TV and etc. etc.
Like for me, like I was glad when it ended. Like obviously, I would like Chivas to be there, but it's not as if they were up until the last day, like a point off and. We ended in kind of disappointment. We knew for months that we weren't going to be there. So I was just kind of hoping for the day where they were like, right, it's mathematically impossible. They can't go to the playoffs. And like we were saying, John, it's good to just sit down and relax it and not have to worry about us getting to the playoffs and then going out in the first round,
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. Do you? So for you guys, because obviously, in terms of Columbus's season, Columbus were mathematically still able to be in the playoffs until about 2 games before the end. For you guys, you were mathematically out quite early on in the running. What was it like for the end of the season? Were you just like trying to be the usurpers and just trying to ruin other people's chances? Is that what the hope became, or?
Well, it's lovely to be an underdog. I really enjoy being an underdog. So it's nice to go into these games and we had people like Chicago Fire came into New England towards the end of the season there, and they were sort of happily going towards the playoffs, and we kind of beat them and upset them, and everyone was like, "What the hell's happened here?" Because everyone had just written us off as some little rubbish team from the East Coast, that nobody was watching anymore. But
nobody watched them when they were winning, though. So, I don't know what you're talking about, John.
But so it was nice to kind of like I say that like the pressure goes off you a little bit, and there's so much. There's still all that kind of anger and angst amongst the fans, and they're saying, we're still not in the playoffs, etc., etc. But when you're out and you're out and there's nothing you can do about it, you kind of relax, take the pressure off yourself, and you just think, well, let's just go out there and play some football. And I often find that, the last couple of seasons, the New England Revolution have almost improved towards the last sort of 5-6 games of the season because that pressure's been lifted off their shoulders, and they just go out there to have a laugh and have a bit of fun. And you can play a bit of your youth team, or you can play different players in different positions and things like that, and experiment a bit and have a laugh with it. And you almost start playing better when you kind of don't have anything to lose.
But is that not fundamentally a massive problem with your team? If it takes until they can't physically get anywhere they want to go for them to actually start winning games and performing, is that not fundamentally quite a big issue?
Well, I think that the thing is with it is it's kind of this year was a transition year, obviously with the new coach, new players, new this, new that. It was never going to be. We were never going to go and win the Champions League or anything, So it's a case of each year at a time now, and let's build with Jay Heaps and see where it goes. So this season I wasn't expecting anything. I think some New England fans were expecting big things, but But for me, it was kind of, I didn't think we were going to do anything ridiculously impressive anyway. So then to get to the end of the year, and then the players kind of think, right, we've tried hard, we've worked hard to get to the point where we are. Now let's just, sod it. We've got these games here that don't really mean a lot. Let's just go out there and sort of enjoy the football we're playing and not worry about the result and not worry about the pressure that's on us. And I think, like I say, that kind of, when that comes off you, I think you kind of perform better. But I'm not really too concerned about it, because I think, obviously, as I say, it's a rebuilding year, and so next year I think we will come out and be even more impressive, and then hopefully you can start to get the results that you do want and build on that from there.
Yeah, I mean, Andy, because obviously, with John, it's no offence to the clubs John likes, but you obviously being an Ipswich fan, John, you kind of, when you begin the season, you never ever have that, we're going to be top of the table. You're thinking we're going to be fighting and we're going to scrap, and we might end up high, we might end up low, but you're fighting and scrapping all the time. But for you, obviously, Andy, as a Celtic fan, you're expecting to win every game, pretty much. So how does that translate for you when it comes to Chivas, knowing that... Because for me, I can't watch football if I don't think we're going to win every game. It doesn't make sense to me. I feel like they should win every game, even though I know they won't, and I know there's going to be games where I just want to give up watching. But I have to go in there thinking we're going to win every game. How does it translate? Because obviously you've got two polar extremes of Chivas and Celtic. How does that compare for you?
Well, yeah, like you're saying, it's completely different, and I think, to be honest, when I first started supporting Chivas, it was kind of like one of the reasons why I opted for them, because they were seen as like this underdog team, and growing up supporting Celtic, anyone who doesn't support Celtic, they just automatically assume you're this glory hunter, you go for a team that always wins.
Yeah. But obviously we both assume that as well. But then again, we also know you're a Chivas fan, so we kind of wrote that off fairly quickly.
But yeah, no, it's completely different. I think look at it as Celtic, obviously they have to win every single game in the league, but they're in the Champions League this year, and they're automatically the underdogs, there. So draw a bit of a comparison with that. But like we're saying there, the Chivas, I would have loved if they could have been, even though they're out of the playoffs, maybe causing an upset and still having their say in who was going to go through.
Yeah,
they weren't. They're trying to not be bottom, and then they couldn't even achieve that. And they finished 30 points and negative 34 in goal difference. Whereas Celtic back in Scotland are, well, not this season, but last season, they can run away with the league and have almost score have a nice positive goal difference. But I don't know, as I said, that's one of the things that brought me to Chivas, was to try and see what it was like supporting a club that maybe doesn't win every game, but I didn't know what I was letting myself in for.
that was a long and slow downward spiral from there.
Yeah.
and now you're stuck with alcohol, just fully Scottish now. You can only cope with alcohol. But I suppose that brings us on, kind of succinctly, to how have you been finding the playoffs then, in terms of the actual games results, and what are your thoughts of the final guys?
Well, I'll be honest, I'm a bit upset really about about the MLS playoffs this year. I think I'm just going to keep my mouth shut really forever now about playoffs, because it seems whenever I talk about the playoffs, I'm always picking teams, and then those teams just crash out, and I was saying, how well that Real Salt Lake were going to do, and then to my credit, I said DC United were going to do well, but they didn't really do too well against Houston. So I'm going to keep my mouth shut about those kind of results. But no, I think it's been an interesting playoffs so far, which obviously everyone will agree with, I'm sure. There's been some very, very interesting results, both home and away. Home stands seem to make all the difference in the playoffs, which is fantastic, really, which is what it should do. But obviously, it shows how much of an impact they make, and obviously playing games in such a short space of time sometimes is having the difference as well, travelling and things like that. But no, I've been really, really fascinated by the playoffs this year.
No, I the thing that amazes me is that it shows the whole league as a whole, really, in the sense that you look at the two teams that are now in the final, and Houston finished a point above Columbus, and they got in on the 5th Eastern slot to get into the playoffs. And LA were also, they were 2 points above what Columbus got, just as a reference, and they qualified 4th in their conference. Like, it's amazing to think, you look at teams like San Jose and Sporting Kansas City, who were so strong all year round, and yet they just suddenly just weren't good enough. They'd bottled it.
Well, I think, and again, this is kind of to do with the experience, I guess, of those squads, and you can kind of tell who's got the players with the longevity there. Really, is you've got a lot of these teams who've made a huge impact in the season. They were, when you're talking the first half of the season, when us three spoke after the first half of the season, and you were saying there's this team, this team, this team. They're, blowing the league wide open, and they're going to storm into the playoffs. You kind of get to the end of that season and there's injuries coming in, there's tiredness, you're fed up of travelling, you haven't seen your family, whatever.
Yeah.
You come to that, and then it's the teams with those players who are used to that pressure, used to that kind of schedule, and they're the players who are, at the end of the season, come through. And like you say, they're maybe not the best teams in the league. They're maybe just snuck into the playoffs, and suddenly this kind of power of longevity, this stamina comes straight through, and it says a lot really about the players and the setups at Houston and LA that they've got back to a major final again.
Mm. And
I think for me, I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of disappointed the way things turned out. And not just because LA Galaxy in the final. I was at the MLS Cup final last year between LA and Houston Dynamo, and it was a pretty boring game. So I'm hoping it's going to be different this year. But like John, what you're saying, I tipped somebody else to get there. We didn't. Sporting Kansas City. But I think with San Jose, I would have loved to see San Jose get to the final. But I think the headlines are already written with them having a great season. Having the Supporters' Shield. Yeah. Having won the World Cup, top scorer, and then failing at the first round there. I think that was already going to happen, but yeah, I'm hoping it's going to be a bit of a better game than last year between the Galaxy and Dynamo.
Yeah, I mean that's funny. Cup finals have a tendency to be really dull, don't they? They're either one of two things. There's never a okay cup final. There's either that cup final was really dull, and there was one goal because both teams were really, really cagey. Or you get one team came out and went nuts and just absolutely obliterated them. You don't tend to get, it was alright, yeah, it was a fine game. You don't get that with cup finals, which is one of the things I do love.
It was strange because when I was there at the cup final last year, it was unfortunately in the LA Galaxy end, I say, but they had the majority of the stadium. There's this small pocket of orange over in the corner of Houston Dynamo fans. And then it's just strange, for a cup final scene, having the home team have the majority of supporters there, and then it was a final result. So, but then it's kind of a repeat this year again. So I'm hoping it's going to be a bit better.
Yeah, I mean that's another thing that's a bit strange is that it's not in a neutral ground, only due to the luck of the draw, I suppose. But that must have such an effect on Houston, having to go and play in
I just think it's really not fair. I don't understand why that happens. I just think if you're Houston, you're probably thinking, for God's sake, and I kind of think that's probably something that should have been more well thought out, really. But they,
I can understand the fact that the size of the US. If you had a neutral venue, where would you put it? Would fans be able to travel there? But for Houston Dynamo fans, after last year, having to play the final in LA against that season's best team, and they're doing it again. They're having to go to LA. LA are going to have the majority of fans there. It's going to be Beckham's last game, possibly Landon Donovan's last game. So they're going to be up against it.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think it's a bizarre one that just kind of is weird. I mean, it happens in England when you've got when the neutral stadium's a bit ridiculous, when you've got Chelsea v Tottenham and the game's been played at Old Trafford, it's surely you could pick one of the other London teams to play at. You could play at their ground rather than get both people going all the way up to, all the way up to Manchester or whatever. Yeah. But let's bring it down very succinctly to who's your pick? Give me your pick and your score. Go Andy first.
I'm going to go Houston Dynamo. And not, as I said, not just because they're playing LA Galaxy. But no, I think they'll sneak this one. You know, I'm hoping there's going to be more goals in it. So I'll maybe go for a 2-1 win there by Dynamo. But I think it's, like I said with San Jose, you know, they had such a great season and they fell at the final hurdle. You know, you've got all the headlines going to be making, you know, Beckham's last game, possibly Landon Donovan's last game. You know, they're all trying to go out on the high. I just think it's going to be that case where Dynamo are just going to upset all that.
And how about you, John? Give me your...
See, it's such a close one to call, isn't it? It's such a close one to call. But I've got to give the advantage to Galaxy, really. As much as I don't want to, I'd prefer to see Houston win this. I really would. As much as I'd like to see David Beckham end his MLS career with winning the Cup again and going out in glory, I think that it would be nice to see Houston lift the Cup. But I think, you know, you've got the home advantage in LA. You know, you've got the crowd behind you there. You've got these players who are obviously, you know, as Andy mentioned, you know, you've got Donovan who may be on his way out, Beckham who's maybe on his way out, and they're going to really want this to end their careers on, you know. So I kind of think there's going to be a lot going in LA's favour for this one. So really, for me, that's got to be the obvious pick. But as I say, I'd much prefer that Houston won it, really.
So what's your score? Come on, give me it. Throw it down the gauntlet.
I'm going to go. I think it'll be a close one. I do think it'll be a close one. So I think it'll be a 2-1 to LA Galaxy. Oh,
so we've got 2-1 either way. God, I've got to split the difference now. I've got to be the deciding vote.
You go. Yeah. What do you think, mate? What do you think?
For me, again, I'm with you, John. I think the overwhelming majority just shouts LA. It just you can't look past it. I desperately want a Houston win. Mainly for the sole reason that when you speak to anyone, I spoke to my boss the other day and he was like, oh yeah, the MLS Cup final's on, you know, Saturday. Is it Saturday it's on? Yeah, it's 1st of December, isn't it? And he was like, oh yeah, didn't LA win it? And I was like people just think immediately that LA must be the team that win it every year. And it's like, I don't want that. I don't like that. I want to see, you know, the other teams doing well, and to show that it's not all about, look, they've got Beckham and that's why they won, kind of thing. So for me, I would desperately what I hope to see is a Houston 3-2 win. That's my hope. But what I realistically think is going to be like a 1-0 LA.
No, again. No, but like we just said there, yeah, that's exactly. It's not just because I'm a Chivas USA fan and I hate LA Galaxy, but like you said, people just assume that LA either already have won it or, you know, they're going to win it. I think it would be kind of good that people look at it from abroad and think, you know, David Beckham's last game, they're going to win it. I think it would show people that, you know, MLS is more competitive and it's not just about, you know, the big teams with the big DPs on their roster.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, for example, I was passing through London a couple of weeks ago and was listening there to a news story in one of the train stations. They had sort of the huge LED board up there with Sky News on it, and they were talking about David Beckham on there and what's going to happen, and et cetera, and they sort of briefly brushed over the fact that he was in this MLS Cup final, and it was just the way they spoke about it. It was so nonchalant. It was so sort of like, oh yeah, and of course he's going to be playing in his MLS Cup coming up, but then obviously he could go to Australia, et cetera. They were talking about all these options, but they just sort of brushed over. It was just like, yeah, he's gonna win the cup, yeah, whatever. And then they moved on to talking about something else, and I was just kind of, the way they said it with such arrogance of, yeah, of course he'll win it because he's David Beckham kind of thing, and I just kind of that annoyed me, that, and you know, it was sort of, okay, you know, LA Galaxy have got some good talent there. They are a good side, you know, and I don't want to sound like we're having a go at them or their fans or anything like that, but no, it certainly kind of wound me up. And as you guys say, you know, you don't want an international fan base or an international audience who don't know a lot about the MLS to just start presuming that whoever David Beckham plays for is the best team in the league. And you know, some people, you know, obviously you mention Thierry Henry to people, and they know that Thierry Henry now plays in the MLS, so they presume that he's probably in the final. When, you know, actually, if people knew the truth behind that, they'd probably be quite shocked. So, you know, that's how it is, I guess. But unfortunately, I do think that LA Galaxy will win this one.
Yeah, no, I've got to go with you there. I do think they will. I just don't want them to. But as you know, as we're talking about that, and we're talking about the whole sort of impetus of David Beckham, obviously Beckham now playing his last game. He said he's leaving. Obviously, as we mentioned, Donovan's looking like he's going to go. What do you think's next for the MLS now? Well, firstly, how badly do you think that's going to affect the MLS as a league, with a reputation? How do you think he's done what he needed to do? MLS has kind of got the reputation they needed from Beckham anyway. He's probably a bit past it now. It's not going to make a massive difference, or is it going to affect? Is it going to affect how people see the league again? Anyone?
Do you want to take that one, Andy?
Well, I don't know. That's the thing. Like, I was listening to what Don Garber was saying yesterday, and he was obviously, people are thinking, is MLS going to suffer? They're going to lose fans or whatever. But like the way he saw it was like Beckham's came. He did his job, and it's kind of like onwards and upwards for MLS. Like, but to be fair, I think they're going to have to bring in somebody. Like, even if it's not LA Galaxy, which they'll have a DP spot there, but they're going to have to bring in some sort of figurehead kind of player there. You mentioned that he's got other initiatives that will kind of help to keep growing the league, and but I think no matter whether you like Beckham or not, which I don't, but you can't deny like what he's done for MLS there and what his presence in MLS has achieved for the league. But I don't know, it's a strange one because I think it's time to move on because how long was it going to play for him? How long were people going to keep interest in MLS just because David Beckham was there? But yeah, I think it's a good time to kind of cut ties. And like he said himself, he's not severing ties with MLS altogether. No way he's going to go next, we don't know. But obviously, he's still got that kind of option in his contract for getting involved with the ownership of a team, whether it be at LA Galaxy or we're talking about New York Cosmos. But yeah, no, it's going to be a great off season because it'll be like a new chapter for MLS.
Yeah, no, I agree. Do you think, because obviously one of the things as well that I certainly was thinking is the fact that with all Beckham at that stage now is almost doing more damage by still playing than he is by not, if you know what I mean, because he's 37, I think he is.
Yeah.
And if he carries on playing for the next 3-4 years, it makes the league look a lot worse because you wouldn't have a 39-year-old Beckham playing in the Premier League. It just wouldn't happen. Yet if he's getting away with playing like that, like he's not as fit as he used to be, but he's not still, he's still considered a decent player even though he's 37. Whereas if he carries on and he kept playing, you're looking at him and he probably could get away with playing until he was 40. Who knows? But it makes the league look slightly lesser because it's like, well, these players can leave when you're 37 at your club and then go to MLS, and it means you can be fine. You'll play for another 3 years and just have a good time. Like, I think by him leaving, it gives that freedom to, as you say, bring in someone new, bring in another big name. And for me, I think the impetus has to be on getting someone who's slightly younger, getting someone who's not at the end of their career. You want to catch someone, like the Russians are doing, where they just buy players because they can afford ridiculous something, but they bring big names that aren't at the end of their careers.
There you go. Because I think the thing with the MLS is that when Beckham came over, the thing about David Beckham is a brand. Everything that follows Beckham around, whether it be film stuff with his sort of bend it like Beckham and whatever. He's got his underwear, he's got his aftershave, he's got his posters, whatever it is else that he does. It's a brand, So when you get Beckham the brand, it kind of just brings this whole market with it. And he's wherever you are in the world, everyone knows David Beckham. Whether you're in China and you can't get on Google, people still know who David Beckham is. That's what MLS is gonna miss is Beckham the brand. It's not going to be Beckham the player. I was talking to a few friends of mine from Ipswich at the beginning of the season. Obviously, the Revs went into LA, smashed the Galaxy right at the beginning of the season, which people probably won't remember. But
yeah, they had a really bad start to the season, didn't they, LA? Actually, which was fun.
One thing I was saying to people, because people always say to me, "Oh, Beckham's still amazing, isn't he? He's still like the best player ever." And I was saying, well, the thing is, he's not. The thing with him is that he's still got that fantastic foot on him that he can deliver crosses, he can score from free kicks. He's still lethal from that. But as soon as you put a bit of pressure on him or something, and he hasn't got 30 seconds to hold the ball and look where he wants to put it in, he suddenly becomes completely useless in the game. He hasn't got the legs that he used to, and it's literally that foot, that gifted little cross, that gifted free kick that he put in. That's what he brought to the MLS, and that was it in terms of playing. But it's the charisma, it's the brand, it's the rest of it that he brought. And honestly, like you say, I think now that if he does move on, obviously he hasn't moved on yet, so we'll wait with bated breath to see if he does. But if and when he does move on, I think that it will be up to the MLS to bring in some sort of new brand to promote the MLS and some sort of new, impact players to really turn the heads around the world of fans who are looking and thinking, oh my God, it's kind of like the Thierry Henry thing. Thierry Henry can still play some fantastic football, and people are still enjoying that he's there. But I think you need some other players in there of his standard who can come in and like you've pointed out, younger players maybe who are still in the peak of their careers to go in there and put some fantastic numbers up, score some fantastic goals in the MLS. That would turn more attention. But like I say, I think it's the brand, it's the Beckham brand that will be missed, and it's the money that comes with that, the attention that comes with that, the media that comes with that is going to make the MLS suffer.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think the other benefit with bringing in someone bigger like an Henry who will put in and put challenges in and make defenders have to work harder. It can only benefit the league in a physical sense of these defenders are going to have to get better, because if you're playing with someone like Henry every week, not just every time you play New York, your defending has to get better, because otherwise you're going to get absolutely spanked every time you go anywhere. So it actually helps to develop the league in the sense that once you've got a better player playing against you, you have to adapt. You have to learn better ways to deal with them. You can't just, deal with them the same way you deal with someone who's not as good. If you have, Thierry Henry running towards you, you have to deal with him differently to how you deal with Emilio Renteria running towards you. How you deal with anyone. You have to be able to adapt to that, and it can only help the league by having better players inside it. And that sort of thing.
So therein is the development of the league. The better players that come in, the better quality of football that is played, the further the football in the league will have to develop, the further each team will have to develop to be able to cope with that. And obviously that will only help to stimulate growth and help the international fan base and help the domestic fan base of MLS.
Yeah, no, totally. And as we're sort of slowly moving there anyway, how as I say, next season we're hoping we're going to see how things go, see if Donovan and Beckham are still there. I imagine Beckham is pretty set on his way out. Donovan is kind of, here and to and froing, that's the term I'm looking for. But what, if, in terms of for your club and for the league, let's go club, because we don't need to talk about the league, we've kind of done that a little bit, but what's Andy, we'll get you back in, sitting quietly in the corner patiently, it's nice. What's your hopes for next season? What are you looking to gain, and what are you looking to improve on? Obviously, you've not had a particularly good last ever since Chivas has been created seasons. So, what are you looking for in the next season?
Well, that's the thing. It's been months now that I've actually been looking forward to the next season. I just wanted this season to end and kind of get going with 2013. It's hard to get too excited because, this year, obviously, Robin Fraser was in his second year as coach. He's not there anymore. But we were still using that phrase, work in progress. It's just a project he's working on, and it'll get better. And we'll have these problems, but then we're kind of back to square one again. We've got the new owner, the owners have taken full control. They're promising big things about bringing in an experienced coach and turning things around. The new owner said that he wanted to get to the MLS Cup in 2 years' time. I don't think it should put time frames on that.
Seems a bit rapid.
Yeah, he said 2 years. So what happens if we don't get it in 2 years? Does he consider his position? But it's hard to get too I am genuinely excited because you can't help but get excited when there's possibly new players and a new manager. But the thing is no matter what happens, if we can go on a winning streak and go to playoffs, great. But then if we don't win, the excuse is, it's a new manager, it's work in progress, and we keep having to use the same phrases that we've been using the last few years. And it's hard when you look at, like we were saying earlier on, it's hard looking at a club that's bottom. What I'm hoping for next year is not to finish bottom. This year, so excited. I was thinking this could be our year. because we've got a great roster. You know, we still do have a great roster. We've got a good team there, you know, with some great players. So, you know, I was excited this year. Things have to get better, you know. To be fair, they couldn't get much worse. But yeah, no, I think it's going to be an interesting off-season. You know, the owners, as I said, he had a press conference, over 10 days ago now, where he said we were going to get a new coach in 10 days. Those 10 days have passed. We have no new coach. Hopefully, he's not rushing things. But yeah, it's looking though. I want somebody to come in, a decent coach, decent experienced coach, because we've got a good roster there. We don't need that many players. But I don't know. I'm still slightly nervous about next year, but it's good to get a break from it all. A break from Chivas just now. Let's see what happens with as I said, with the manager first, and then we can look to next year.
Yeah, what I liked in that as well is that the dog is clearly really excited as well. Very, very keen on the season ahead. I noticed that he was like, "I love it. Just talk to me as well." I liked the you know, all the animals are getting involved as well. That was good to hear. But how about you, John? What's your aim?
Honestly, I kind of just want more of the same. I won't lie. I think the thing with New England this year was that obviously we took a huge gamble on bringing in a rookie coach, which I think a lot of people sort of turned their noses up at the Revolution about that. And who can blame them, really? You know, obviously Jay Heaps comes in with his age and with his inexperience. You know, how well were we expecting to do, really? But I kind of supported it. I think, you know, he's a favourite with the fans, which had a big impact straight away. He talks very straight to the media, which I respect in the man, and I think he plays a good style of football. But obviously, he was kind of picking up from the remnants of Steve Nicol. So obviously he's had to deal with that, and this year was never, as I said earlier, it was never ever going to, you know, blow the wind out of anyone. It's never going to blow your socks off. But I think he's building a good squad there, and he's now going after some talented players. I think maybe this year he focused on a lot of very good attacking players. Obviously, you know, we got the fantastic acquisition of Lee Wynn coming in.
Yeah, he was incredible.
You know, we've got these fantastic foreign strikers and things that we've brought in this season. Saya Sen obviously came in and he was sensational until he got injured. So we've got these players there who are very, very talented. I think where we've struggled massively is we've got our captain, you know, our stalwart captain, Matt Rees in goal, but he's now getting on in years. You know, we've got our backup keeper there, Bobby Shuttleworth, who I love. I think he's brilliant, and he is the future of the New England Revolution. But whether he's ready to come into a starting role now, I don't know. Whether Matt Rees is ready to retire, I don't know. So that's a bit of a thing that I think they're going to have to talk about over the summer. I say over the summer, over the winter. But it's a case of that's kind of a problem. The defence has definitely been a problem. I think our defence has been so shaky this season. A lot of people disagree with me on this because we had a lot of younger guys in there. I think we missed the experience really with them. But you know, we brought some more experienced players in later on in the season. I think we realised our error, brought them in, but our defence was still shaky. So I think all I could really wish for this off-season is that they focus a lot more on defence, getting the whole team back to defend, and building on what we've got. You know, players like Lee Wynn and Ryan Guy and Saya Sen, who are fantastic additions to the side. Obviously, we've got Juan Toja, we've got Benny Failhaber, those kind of guys who were massively unimpressive, or they'll be acquired like Juan Toja acquired at the end of the season. Didn't trade them for anything, so I'm kind of waiting for some sort of big trade to come out of New England and for us to acquire someone of a big strength, and hopefully that will make all the difference for next season. And as Andy says, I was looking forward to next season about 3 months ago. So I think it'll only get better. It'll get better and better and better, and hopefully I still believe in Heaps. So hopefully by the time the new season rolls around, we'll be absolutely rip roaring and ready to go, and hopefully I won't have any concerns when we talk this time next year, and I won't be as upset as I am this year about the Revs not being in the playoffs.
You mean because you'll be waiting for the final?
But hopefully I could be eagerly anticipating another New England Revolution final, and hopefully we'll win our first cup this time.
Yeah.
But there you go. That is far too down the road for that conversation.
Let's maybe not think about that as next year.
But what about yourself, Dan? Can you tell us about Columbus?
I mean, for me in Columbus, as I say, last year was... Sorry, the last year was supposed to be a rebuilding year, and this year again was kind of the sort of flow on from that rebuilding year. Still got very young players, still sort of growing those players, and I think this year did have, obviously the massive upset of losing Kirk, and that had a massive impact on the team, and I think that definitely affected the team, certainly for a good spell, and so you can't expect too much from it. But for me, I think the signs are all looking fairly positive to move forward. The signing of Federico Higuain, who I still believe is one of the best players in the league. He's absolutely brilliant. You see him on the pitch and he looks head and shoulders above everyone else. He's so much smart. He just, he doesn't lose the ball unless he decides that you're allowed to play with it as well. And I think for me that's one of the really positive things. And I think Jairo Arrieta is a great little striker that we've got now, and I think he's again looking to really grow. And I think that's what I'm looking for. The next year is a bit more of that and a bit more of the link up again. Eddie Gavin's in like his 7th year in the league and he's about 22. I don't think he's quite that young, but he's like 25 and he's in his 7th year in the league. He's considered a veteran of the league and he's that young. And I think players like him and say Higuain and there's other players that I think really are coming into their own. And I think once we get some of those younger lads coming up, like Josh Williams had one of the best seasons for what is a rookie. He became absolute rock in defence, whether he was playing centre or left. I think that was great to see. And I think there's really good signs. There's still cracks and there's still worries, but I think the foundation is there, and I think that's what I'm hoping for the beginning of next season and for next season as a whole. I think we can get back to our usual ways of making it to the playoffs. I reckon that's what we're going for now.
So do we think all three of these teams will be in the playoffs at the end of next season?
I would like to say yes to you, John. I would like to believe that Chivas and Revs and Columbus will all be in the playoffs. I believe one of three will be in the playoffs.
There you go. I was going to say, as we all like to say, we're all optimistic about it and things. So I just wondered what your two opinion on that was, but obviously I heard Andy laughing there without answering. So I think
that was an answer in itself. Yeah,
I kind of feel the same. Obviously as positive as I am, I can't quite be that confident to say that we will be in the playoffs next year. But certainly things are looking up, aren't they? For all three.
We'll be closer to the playoffs.
Yeah, you mean finishing 9th rather than 10th?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think that
one step closer.
Year, and I agree with both your assessments. I think that all three of our teams will be a lot closer to the playoffs, whether it be by one more place or whatever next season. I think things are looking up.
So talking about things looking up, segue. What's looking up with the website, guys?
What's looking up with the website? Well, obviously we were talking before the podcast to the people who are listening to this, the 4 people that are listening to this.
All right, guys.
I've heard the conversation, but obviously the end of the season brings changes, brings new things, etc., etc. Obviously, we've had a very interesting, a very different, very exciting season this season. Obviously, myself and Dan took over at the end of last season from Glenn Williams, the previous editor and runner of MLS UK. Obviously, Andy, you joined us midway through the season, and everything's hunky-dory with that. So obviously, us three going forward, we've got some very exciting times ahead. And so we're talking about a website rebrand at the moment, aren't we, boys? About changing everything around, getting a new site up. Obviously, we've had the current crop of writers who've come through. Some have left us, some are still writing, some we're not too sure about, some we haven't heard about for 6 months. They could be in the back of a van somewhere.
Who knows?
Who knows? But no, so we're obviously looking to replace those writers who've left, maybe bring in some new writers, maybe cut some old writers, whatever we have to do. So obviously things on that front are very exciting, aren't they, lads, really?
Yeah, I think we're pumped. I'm pumped. Are you pumped, Andy?
Yeah, no, I'm excited. Yeah, no, we got to get ourselves a nice shiny new website, some new writers. Yeah, looking forward to next season.
Yeah, I think we're going to try and bring some new, some more ideas to the table as well. Try and get a bit more of an overview as well as just here's our teams. We're going to try and bring a bit more of a, league perspective and that sort of thing. So hopefully we'll be able to bring some new stuff to, keep you three guys that listen to these podcasts listening to these podcasts, and and everyone that does read the site, and hopefully we can. Our aim is, well, I'm making this up now. Our aim is to double our Twitter followers in the next year. That's going to be our target. That's what I'm laying it down. That's the gauntlet, guys. So if you're listening to this, you four have got to become an 8 listening to this podcast. So next time, let us know. I think it's really exciting. I think there's really exciting stuff coming. And as I say, the off season is always a bit of a weird time for us because it's like everyone's gone away. No one likes to listen to us because there's nothing on the site. But we are trying to keep growing the site for the benefit of not just ourselves and look how shiny our website looks, but we want to make sure it's user friendly and that people are able to get to where they want to get, and they're able to get straight to John Parker's face. Rather than trawling through other stuff, but so we want to try and make sure that people are able to do it. So if you have any things that you find wrong with this site, you can always email us or tweet us or whatever you want to do. Call John up at the weekend and be like, "Hey John," if you haven't got his number, I'll give it out online.
While we're on that issue, Dan, I will say one thing while we're on here, and that is that we had like that weird. There's a weird thing for those who aren't clued up about like the website, how everything's run, how everything comes together and things. We kind of get a little bit of feedback about how people find the site and how people track us down. What people Google and then click on our website, etc., etc. We kind of all this stuff comes up and is sent to us. And there was one search that was very, very specific. One search that came to the page on Google, which was something like picture of John Parker, or something like that.
Something like picture of John Parker's face.
It was something really, really strange like that. So if you're listening, whoever it is who has put that into Google,
John wants a date. John definitely wants a date.
If you'd like an autograph, if you'd like a signed picture of my face, whatever you need, just send me an email. Drop me an email at Guitar Spoons on Twitter. Drop me a message because I want to hear from you. Whoever that was that Googled that, I want to hear from you.
I have no idea. I reckon I know it is.
Well, we got that. And also, obviously, there's something else that also is very, very important to us, very special to us that we need to mention, which is obviously the fact that since Andy came on board and helped us out, thank you very much, Andy. Obviously, since he came on, we kind of got a lot more revolutionary with the Twitter thing. Andy's been on there tweeting the hell out of things. And since Andy came on board, we've now broken 2,000 fans on Twitter. So we've got 2,055 followers as of this exact moment. So obviously we owe a huge debt of gratitude to Andy for doing that.
And obviously for you guys for following us.
And to all the followers, everyone who reads the articles, everyone who does that. So keep following us, keep getting on the Facebook page. The Facebook page has now got some extortionate amount of followers on there as well. Yeah. So 290, I think, as it stands. So
and as we say, we get a lot of follow Fridays or friend follows, whatever the hell you want to call them. Everyone calls them something different. Follow these fuckers or something like that. But hashtag. But we do get them, and we try to retweet back to people and whatever. But we just want to make sure we say thanks to you guys who are trying to push the good word. The gospel according to MLS UK. So, we want to just say thanks to everyone for that as well, I think. But I suppose it's time to somber the mood down slightly.
Drop the lighting.
Drop the lighting. The lighting has been dropped. The audio lighting has been dropped. But one of the things we're hoping to do over the off season, basically, it's going to be, and probably for longer than that if we can. Is we are going to be doing a charity campaign raising money for Macmillan Cancer Research, which I know is the reason we chose that is because obviously it's both in America and in England, and obviously everyone knows who Macmillan Cancer Research are. Like it's a big charity, so we're going to try and raise money for them. The main reason behind this being that unfortunately. I've actually got cancer now. As fun as that sounds to announce on a podcast, I've gone and got myself a cancer. So what we're what we're trying to do is to raise awareness. I'm hoping it's not like I'm not going to die cancer. It's very treatable. Touch wood and all that. I'll be fine. But obviously, chemo and that stuff. So basically, the idea is I'm probably going to lose my hair. So what we've got going is going to be our campaign. Is going to be the Go Bald for Bidmead campaign. All rights for the title goes to John Parker.
You're damn straight.
It was an amazing title.
We're very excited to. Well, I say excited. That's a bit of an awful word.
Yes, it's a bit unfair.
We're very excited to support our brother in arms, our fellow editor, our good friend Dan in his.
Polite.
In his yeah, I don't know what to call it, Dan. I don't know what you'd like to call it, but obviously in this horrific time for yourself and your family and your girlfriend, etc., we'd obviously like to do what we can to support and give back to the people who are supporting you as well. And obviously, it's such a worthwhile charity, and everyone knows someone I think who's been affected by cancer and things. And obviously, it really hit home. I think when myself and Andy found out about you, Dan, and so yeah, anything we can do. So the plan is, I believe we briefly talked about it this evening, but the plan is that we will all be shedding hair to support the cause. So whatever it is,
places of our body,
backs, sacks, cracks, heads, faces, armpits, chests, whatever you need to do, lose that hair. We'll raise some events. We'll organise some events. I expect Columbus. There'll be an event in Columbus, I imagine. We'll try and get one going on in LA and Boston. I'll no doubt have something going on in Ipswich. No doubt Dan will sort something out. We'll have numerous events. If you want to do anything to support us, we'll create pages, Facebook events, whatever. And then obviously any money can be put onto an online page. And as I say, as Dan says, all of that will go to Macmillan, and what a fantastic cause it is all for.
I'd say the idea is we're trying to do something to give back to, obviously. The thing I found, certainly for myself, is cancer is something that happens to somebody else. It's not something that happens to you. And that was something, obviously it was strange to be like, oh my God, it actually has happened to me. But, it's one of those things that you don't think about it. And then, you kind of think, oh yeah, cancer, it's cancer. There's so many different types of cancer, so many different types of things that can be wrong with people. And Macmillan offer a humongous amount of support to everyone. Over the whole range. So what we're trying to do is obviously, as I say, that we can go on Just Giving, as it's going to be a Just Giving site. It's going to be Bald for Bidmead. It's going to be the site. We're using that name until it gets so old it's going to be scary. But the idea, we're not saying to people you have to shave your head. John's going to shave every bit of hair on his body because I'm
going to go the full whack.
Because luckily I know John is.
So that's announced now. My legs from my toe to the top of my head, everything will be bald. Yeah, because
obviously, as people know, John, John's a very good friend of mine, and I've known him the longest of the people I know on the site. Obviously, Andy's a good man, and we've sort of grown as friends through the site. But John, I've known along, before the site, and so John is now being forced into being fully hairless as the day he was born.
A Mexican hairless, I believe they'd call me.
Is that what they call you?
Well, that's what they'll call Andy, sadly.
Yeah, but so the idea, we're not saying, when we have events, we're not saying let's have people shave their head, because I understand, because I certainly, if I was told about it, I wouldn't have shaved my head. I was so precious about my hair. I have very little choice now, but so we're saying, if you've got a really hairy chest, go and get your chest waxed and raise money for it, and we're going to try and raise as much money as possible. As I say, we're going to have events where, we're going to film John getting his full body waxed until he's shiny and polished. We're going to get as much as we can, and we're going to try and organise events within other places. So, like I say, I'll be speaking to the hooligans and the crew union, and we're going to get some events going. But we just want people to be involved and just to support. It's not about me. That's the thing, is I don't want people to be like, oh yeah, I know we're using Bald for Bidmead, but that's just because it's a great name. But it's not about me. It's about raising money for the charities and for cancer. We're not doing it. Not raising money for cancer. That sounds weird. We're not doing that. We're trying to raise awareness and raise money for that. So there's obviously people do Movember and stuff, but we want to try and do that specifically for Macmillan because they do so much for people, and it's not about me having cancer. It's about supporting the whole thing. So even if you think I'm a massive dick, it'd still be nice if you shaved a part of your body and raised some money, because the money doesn't get to me. It's just for the charity. So we want to just basically try and give as much as we can, and go bald for Bidmead, basically. So as I say, keep in the loop. We'll update it on the site. We'll keep like running totals going, and we'll make it a big hoo-ha, and we'll try and raise as much money as possible. It'll be like comic relief only with bald people, and yeah, we're going to go from there. But I think that's about the long and short of it. As I say, we're looking to get that going, and we will hopefully raise a load of money and help lots of other people with cancer. People with worse cancers than what I've got and that sort of thing, and that's what they offer, the support and stuff. So hopefully we'll be able to, do them justice and sell the idea of John's naked body. Not naked as in hairless, bald. Just I don't think anyone's buying the idea of John's naked body. But yeah,
that's quite an image for everyone.
Yeah, so that's and goodbye everyone.
I should probably say that obviously if anyone would like to get involved with this cause, then please email us at mls_uk@hotmail.co.uk. And obviously wherever you are in the world, if you're in outer space, if you are in the International Space Station right now and you are listening to this, which you're probably not, you've probably got more important things to be doing, but wherever you are, please drop us an email if you'd like to do an event, whatever, because everyone can just donate money through our Just Giving page or whatever we set up. So wherever you are in the world, you can put that money into your bank account and then drop it straight online to us. So wherever you are, you can help us and help this fantastic cause. So please email us if you'd like to be involved.
That was like a full telecom thing. I like it. Sorry, carry on, Andy.
More than happy to grow some hair, lose some hair, and streak at the MLS Cup final on Saturday.
That
would raise
perfect.
even more money, I think, Andy. Let's do that.
Upside down face Andy streaking in the MLS Cup.
Yeah, I think an upside down face is what I'm going to go for.
That'd be brilliant.
And what everyone at home might find interesting is obviously because Andy's going to have to get married. So obviously, if he goes bald and waxes his legs and things like that, then obviously his future bride to be he might not be too happy about it.
Yeah.
So that's even more reason to donate money, I think. Really, sorry, Aaron.
Yeah.
There you go.
Apologies. But yeah, so I mean that's the long and short of it. We're trying to raise money. We're trying to do stuff for a good cause. For once on this site, we're doing something substantial. So yeah, I will move on, but obviously we'll be keeping that on. So that's pretty much the end of what we've come to talk about today. Are you agreed, guys?
We saved the bad news till last.
Yeah, should we end on a joke? Because I don't got any jokes. Somebody think of a joke really quickly to end and lighten the mood for everyone.
Two Englishmen and a Scotsman on a podcast.
Yeah. How does it end? With talking about cancer. That wasn't a joke.
With abject sadness.
Abject misery. Here's a random fact for you. Kangaroos cannot walk backwards. There you go.
End the podcast there.
And that's it. That's a fact.
Just slice it there.
Yeah, that's just all we're going to do. But so seriously, as I say, get involved with what we're doing. There's good things to come, not just raising money. We're hopefully going to get some good site stuff coming, and then hopefully we'll raise some money for charity. But that is unfortunately the sad ending of our podcast this time. On a serious note, so I will sound the guys off. Andy, it's been good to talk to you.
And you, Dan, as always.
And John, of course. It's always good to talk to you.
I was going to say, sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad.
Yeah.
But tonight it was a pleasure. But Andy, always a pleasure, my friend. Obviously, I'll just say, just before we sign off there, obviously, the things are, if there's any feedback for the website, anything like that, if you want to tell us something rubbish, whatever, drop us an email.
Don't tell us we're rubbish.
uk@hotmail.co.uk. Tweet us at MLS_UK. You can Facebook us, www.facebook.com/MLSUK. We're on Google, whatever it's called, Google Plus, ads, whatever, subtract, minus. We're on there. Look us up, MLS UK again on there. So look us up. If you want to write for the site, drop us an email. If you want to take part in the charity stuff, drop us an email. If you want to give us any feedback at all, drop us an email. If you want some sponsored stuff, if you want a signed picture of all of us smiling.
If you want a signed picture of John Parker's face, email, but only to him.
Email us. And obviously, like I say, whoever that was who Googled that, please get in touch with me. I'm not mad, I'm impressed.
It's just, yeah, I'm not angry. I'm just impressed.
I'm not angry. I'm just impressed. Whoever it is, please just drop me a message. Please, please, please.
But yeah, on that note, we will all say goodbye, and it's been great to talk to you guys, and then we will hopefully reconvene soon. So yeah, everyone, thank you very much for listening, and goodbye from us.